And then when we finally decided that the state choir had gotten so big, Southwest Michigan State Choir had gotten so big, and we were singing so good. Our director was Wilder Gordon. His wife is Ella Gordon, and she's at Brady Emanuel right now. And but we started, singing for the convocation and the workers' meeting, and that was it.
Okay.
Because for the youth, when we had the youth congress, which was always in January, we always had a youth choir, which Maddie was not part of.
Okay.
She was not part of that choir. She did not train that choir. So we had that choir, a youth choir. But when she continued to work with the state choir, eventually Ella Whitehead, was pastoring, and so they made Dr. Clark, the minister of music. And from that point on, then we just went on up. Now, our president, his name was Cleveland Cole. That's Carol Cole's husband, our father.
Okay.
And his wife was one of our pianists. Ronnie Kurtz, she was one of our pianists. And Shirley Taylor, that's Ronnie Kurtz's sister. She was also one of our pianists. And let's see, who else played? I can't remember who all, who all played.
Now, did you get a chance to play for the state choir?
No. Can't play that good. If I did, they wouldn't let me play no way.
Well, you're a wonderful, wonderful soloist. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the first song that you ever did with the choir. Do you remember? Well,
what is it? I can't even remember. And my brother had just passed away 2 years ago, and he knew every song that we ever sung and when we sung it. But one of them was "They Shall Be Mine," written by Columbus Man. That was one of the first ones.
Okay.
And the first song I think I sung. But anyway, on our first album, which was "Lord, Do Something for Me," I think I did 4 songs.
Okay. Talk about those songs,
But I'm trying to remember what they were.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what they was. I cannot, just getting to me. Probably somebody else probably know.
Well, talk about your experience just singing them.
Okay.
What was it like to?
We had wonderful choir rehearsals.
Okay, talk about a
We had
rehearsal.
choir rehearsals till 1 o'clock in the morning. And during that time, we would we'd be holding the children, Dorinda, Twinkie, Niecy. We'd be holding them during choir rehearsal because she always brought them to choir rehearsal.
Now, what was she like in a rehearsal?
For the leaders, we went to her house where she presented a song to the choir. We had already been over to the house and had went through what it was. So when we got to choir rehearsal, the leaders knew where they were supposed to go. And a lot of times we just wait until she get the choir, and then we'd add.
Now, do you remember or can you recall the struggle that Dr. Clark may have had being a woman and being over the choir back in the 50s, 60s?
There was no struggle.
Okay.
No, because just about in our church, even in the national church, the lady that was over the national choir was a woman.
Okay.
And so there really was no struggle as by her being a woman. And it had nothing to do with it. But this is a man's church and a man's world. And so, but she was subject to, her leaders. And so when she left my uncle's church and she joined Bailey Temple, I mean, she was with Bishop Bailey, and he was, just one of those people. But basically, Maddie done exactly what she wanted to do when she wanted to do it. And everybody else just fell in line.
Now talk about that first recording.
The first recording, we were in the studio at top of the Penobscot building at the WJR studios. And Eugene Potts, who was the owner of Gene and Mills record shop, was also, he was like one of our administrators, the administrator. And actually, he is the one who actually got us on recording.
Okay.
His name is Eugene Potts.
Mm-hmm.
And the president of the choir was Cleveland Cole, which, you know, kept things in order, you know, kept us from staying out all night rehearsing, you know, and cut off, say, okay, Maddie, we got to quit now because we could go on and on and on. But we didn't mind. You know, we went to choir rehearsal and stayed for the longest, you know, until we got it right. Friends got it right. Maddie used to throw shoes, house shoes, and stuff, books and stuff with me. Wait a minute, what note is you hitting? Oh, so, but we got used to it. You know, we got used to it. And so she throws something, we just catch it. But it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And we had so much fun.
So talk about the discipline in the choir then versus what you see now.
Well, now you wear anything you want to, do anything you want to, look any kind of way. We couldn't do that. You know, we had to be uniform, even though we didn't have on nothing but black skirts and white blouses. There was no short sleeves blouses and stuff. But we had the black skirts on. But eventually, we did buy robes, and we bought robes, and we traveled all over the country. We sang "Salvation is Free" in Indianapolis, Indiana, for a good 47 minutes. Wow. One time.
Wow.
But all that time, people were coming to the altar. Folks were being saved, being delivered. And we went to Buffalo, New York. We went to New York. We went to the Apollo. We sang at the Apollo.
Talk about that. Did you remember that experience at the Apollo?
That was wonderful. That was a wonderful experience. The lady that had the record shop on Owens, Elma Hendricks.
Elma, yeah.
All right. And Elma published all of our music. It was published by Elma Hendricks. Her and Eugene Potts. Eugene Potts wrote the scores, and Elma published it through her publishing house. And my daddy was pastoring at this church, not in this location, but he was pastoring this church and another church in Jackson.
Okay.
Well, I was the musician, so I had to be back home to go to what's the name. So, like, if we went somewhere on Saturday night, most of the time I flew. But the choir sometimes we took 3 and 4 and 5 buses of choir members. And sometimes we rode all night. We didn't get back till first thing in the morning.
Now, how were you picked to be a lead singer? Because you led quite a few songs with the Michigan State Choir, Southwest.
Yeah, I made most of them.
So how were you picked to do that?
I don't know why they picked me. Yeah, I guess I looked like I knew what I was doing. Somebody thought I did. That's amazing. How was I picked? I really don't know how I was picked.
Okay.
I really don't know
how did Dr. Clark find out that you could sing?
Well, she been having me ever since I've been singing over there ever since I was 8.
Oh, okay.
I was only 8 years old. 8, 9, 10, 11. I think it must have been. No, by the time she got there, I think I was 11.
Now, what was your most memorable occasion with the choir? Dr. Clark with the choir could be a rehearsal, it could be an outing. What do you remember most?
My most memorable time was being over to the house and she giving me a song. And then after she give me a song, okay, now then she would give it to you as a leader. You put your spin on it. And we go from there. She gave you the basics of what she wanted, what she had in her head. But that was something that most, I found out, I have my new producer that just produced my CD, my new CD. I found out that they don't want to give you any leeway. He got it all in his head how it actually ought to go. So, and then he wants to, he want me to sing it exactly the way he got it. But Maddie did not do that. She didn't do that for none of her leaders and nobody else. What we did was we went over there, we got what she wanted and what was in her head. And then she left it up to us. So when you see us adding the vamp onto a song, it's because we have gotten that vamp
Mm-hmm.
And like she said, you got to go to God and get from Him what to say, so that what is coming out is what she has written.
Mm-hmm.
In her head, has got in her head and in her spirit, and that's the way we connected.
Mm-hmm. Now
we did a whole lot of praying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We did praying before, and we actually really had testimony service and church and choir rehearsal before we started saying every song.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, your experience with the Southwest Choir, then, how has it made you who you are today?
Well, it was a combination thing. It wasn't just the Southwest Michigan State Choir, because in the meantime, Bishop Patterson had came to town. Bishop W.A. Patterson, that's Bishop Gilbert Earl Patterson's dad, and he had started church, and I was going to that church until I was 17.
Okay.
In the meantime, we had a group called the New Jerusalem Ensemble, and with Bishop W.A. Patterson, we traveled all over the country, and there was just 6, 7 of us.
Okay.
And we traveled all over the country. We went to Arkansas, we went to Alabama, we went to Tennessee, we went to Indiana. I mean, we just went everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that, that just solidified, if you're going to be a music ministry, if it is a ministry, it's a difference than you just singing just something, because somebody going to pay you. Did we get paid all the time? No.
Mm-hmm.
No, we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
No, we didn't get paid.
You loved music,
I
obviously.
love music, still do, and I'm still playing for no. Hey, hallelujah! But that's the way it is.
Okay.
And so,
So you're still practicing?
But if it's in you and you love it, then you don't actually require that every time I open my mouth that I be compensated. No, I don't believe that's what God has. He didn't intend for us. But every time you open your mouth, you should be giving God all the glory and all the praise and all the honor, because He didn't have to give you a voice in the first place. And He sure didn't have to give you breath.
Yeah.
So if you can do that.
Now, the Convocations are huge with the Church of God in Christ. How did the music role play with the Convocations?
Well, if you're a member of your jurisdiction, well, when you get to Memphis, then you're in the choir. Well, I've been there, when you've been there all this time, I haven't missed a convocation, and I can't even remember when. But since I started going, and I always sat on the end seat of the choir, so I was always a member of the national choir. And then when the other person stepped down, and Bishop J.O. Patterson made Dr. Mattie Moss Clark the minister of music for the national church. Well, we were already part of the Southwest Michigan State Choir, so we automatically was already in the choir. And so we journeyed on from there.
Were you the best choir ever?
Best choir ever put on a pair of shoes that ever opened their mouth to sing. And the reason why, we were anointed. And that's what made the difference. I told you we had to do a whole lot of praying and telling, no, y'all ain't eating. Don't eat nothing. I mean, she just be fussing talking about, don't eat nothing for the next 2 days. To 6 o'clock. Oh, God have mercy. You had to fast and do everything. But now ain't nobody fast. They folks don't fast. They don't care. They just, what's your name? And it's kind of hard for older ones to get it in that spirit that, times have changed. And just like, some young people that are not, that want to learn how to play. But as soon as they learn how to play 1 or 2 songs, they want you to pay them, for them to sing. Instead of standing there and learning and being taught. And God will enhance. There are 3 or 4, 5 or 6 of them that I know that couldn't play a lick. And sat down to the organ one day, and God anointed them to play, and they can play anything now.
Wow.
From classical to anything else.
Now, tell us something in our close. Tell us something that you think we should know historically for this project.
Okay, historically, I think we ought to know and remember that don't forget the bridge that brought you across. You might have to go back across that bridge. And the guy had said, and watch what you sing, and when you sing, every song is not for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every song is not for you. You can't sing every song.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's one song that I don't sing, not because I can't sing the song. I do know the song and I could sing it, but I don't sing. I won't complain, because every time something go wrong, I'm there telling Jesus, "Now look, Lord, we got a problem here." I mean, seriously speaking.
Yes.
So you have to watch what you sing. And then there's another song, and I was sitting next to a minister one time, and the girl got up and she was singing, "Though the storms keep on raging in my life." And this man, this preacher, leaned over to me and said, "So y'all go around singing up the storms?" I had never thought of it that way. He said, "You singing up the storms." So, because you said, though, they keep on raising. So that's what they're going to do. And I had never thought about that. So now when we sang that song, I just sang the other part. God has been good to me, and I don't sing that part. And then that's why I started, and then my dad was one of those strict people and I trained both choirs. I trained the choir here, and I trained the choir at the church in Jackson, which was the First Church of God in Christ in Jackson. I trained both of those choirs. And there were songs he said that, "No, y'all ain't singing that song, because that don't make sense." And so right now, I try to tell him, just because the song is popular does not mean for you to sing it. If it doesn't if it does not have a meaning to you and to your life, then that's not a song that you should sing. So every solo should make sure that they know what's for them and what's not for them. And you know, and if you're not sure, go to God and ask Him.
Yeah.
And then if you still ain't sure, go ask your pastor. Say, "Pastor, does this make any sense to you? Does I give myself away make any sense to you?" Go ask him that. So who are you giving yourself to? Thought you was already his. But and then another person might have a different outlook on that very same song, and it means something to them.
You're such a wonderful singer, and I want you to pretend like you're in your kitchen with your apron on cooking. What would be your favorite song that you'd sing? And I want you to sing a verse of it.
Lord, I just want to thank you. Lord, I just want to thank you, because you've been good to me, especially since my leg didn't want to cooperate with the rest of my body, but now I'm moving around, and I'm in here and I am cooking, and I am a fantastic, excellent cook.
Sing a line.
Man, say I can cook better than I can sing.
Sing a line for us, can you?
You sing a line? What you want to sing? Let me see. There's this song that my brother wrote that's on my latest CD, and that is sort of like my favorite song. And the song is, "I Go in the Strength of the Lord." I go in the strength of the Lord. I live in the strength of the Lord. I move in the strength of the Lord. I have no strength of my own, but I move, I walk, I talk, I stand in the strength of the Lord, because He's my only strength. I have no strength of my own.
Okay.
But I go in the strength of the Lord. I live in His strength, and I move in His strength. Stand in His strength, and I walk in His strength. I talk in His strength. He is my all in all.
Now you gonna sing a little bit of that?
Oh, that might be a good idea.
Just hum a line or two, sing a line or
I
two.
go in the strength of the Lord. I go in the strength of the Lord. I have no strength of my own, but I go in the strength of the Lord. In Him I live, I move, and I have my being. My very existence depends on Him. And though the road sometimes seems hard, He promised He'd never ever depart. Church, I go in the strength of the Lord.
All right. Is there anything you want to add that we should know?
no, I could probably talk for another 2-3 hours.
Oh.
But, you know, as things begin to come back to you,
Yeah.
you know, it starts to flow out.
Mm-hmm.
You think of the years, and you know how it is. It's like when you done gave a message, because I am a full-fledged missionary, evangelist anyway. But, you know, when you sit down and think, look like all the stuff that you probably should have said come to you. I know every preacher got the same, got that same thing. And a lot of times when you've done a concert and you've laid out all the songs that you're going to sing for your concert, and then when you get through the concert, you know, you get up there and then you think, I should have sung so. This should have, you know, I should have sung this. And a lot of times, when I'm doing like a full concert or something, even though I might have already said it, you know, I'm going to do this, and the other, sometimes the Lord changes it.
Absolutely, that's what he does.
That's
Thank
what
you
he does.
so much
He gives you
for
something.
sharing your wealth of knowledge with this project.